My name is Derrick Weyrauch. I'm the president and CEO of Palladium One Mining. Palladium One is an exploration stage critical minerals company operating in Finland and in North America.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're at the conference here in Quebec City. Quite nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's a wonderful venue.
Good conference. Good turnout.
Very good turnout for a first-time event. I'm quite impressed with the level of organization, just the quality of the people we're meeting.
And in terms of the investors that you're meeting, where are they from? Are they from far and wide, or is it mainly kind of Quebec focused?
It's mainly in North America, actually.
Right.
We've got people from, I shouldn't just say that, we've got some Australians here as well. So it's a fairly broad reach.
Okay. Yeah. Well, look, you kind of gave us a brief run through of what you're up to, and we've been talking for a while now on the show about what you're up to. Obviously, we know Finland project, and we've got Tyco as well, and you've just picked up something else, right? Mm-hmm. But it kind of strikes me, I'm not quite sure what I'm meant to be looking at. What do you built? Your Palladium company, right? That's what it says in the title.
Well, it does say it in the title, but look, we are working in the area that the industry is really talking about, and that is critical minerals, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So yes, we have palladium in the title, but we're really having a full suite of critical minerals to deal with green transportation. And we're already in the game with regards to having the PGs in Finland, which are used in the automotive catalytic converters for the reduction of the harmful effects of emissions. Mm-hmm. But we're also, working with nickel, which is in absolutely huge demand and growing when you look at any of the forecasts out there, as well as copper with our Tyco project. As you say, we've just picked up another project. This one is a nickel copper in the Yukon. So we're really trying to build a company that is relevant for where governments are talking about, in terms of what they need to support industry and what the industry is really looking towards.
Okay, that's interesting. So you've got, obviously, you're in Finland and you're in North America. Both of those have big kind of critical minerals pushes, and the governments are talking that language. I agree with you on that one. But how do you insert yourself? I mean, you're going to be seen as a North American player. I mean, what's happening in Finland? How does that advance, and is it meaningful?
Well, our most advanced asset is actually in Finland, and we're very much seen as a Finnish company at this point in time. That's where we have our existing resources. It's a large endowment, over 4 million ounces at this stage, and still growing. So we get a lot of attention from, it's called ESG funds or ESG investor-focused individuals in Europe, because it's a Scandinavian story. Palladium, platinum, nickel, copper, all these things we have, cobalt, are on the critical minerals list in the EU. While in North America with our Tyco project, we're obviously hitting the North American critical minerals lists as well. So we're hitting both sides of the pond.
Okay, but you're a small company. You've got to be focused. You're saying you're focused on critical minerals broadly. You got those two kind of ecosystems, both kind of desperate. Well, if I talk to OEMs or battery manufacturers, even Elon Musk yesterday in Saudi Arabia broadcast talking about the main concern is supply constraints. Mm-hmm. So I buy that from you, but you've then got to work out how you insert yourself and take advantage of that situation. So Europe is going to be very different from North America. Mm-hmm. So given Finland's most advanced project, how are those conversations going? What's your end game there?
Well, the market is definitely moving towards the battery electric vehicle. We just really don't know how fast it's going to go. It is going to be a transition period of time here. But right now, I think we're very relevant from a security supply as it relates to the Finnish project, where we have the palladium being the dominant metal. OEMs have a security of supply issue with 40% of global mine production coming from Russia, another 40% coming from South America or South Africa.
Right.
There's huge risks associated with these jurisdictions. So we're, I think, relevant right now in terms of the current conversation and the current supply risks that the OEMs are having to deliver vehicles to the market. And we're trying to position ourselves so that we're also going to be relevant as the expansion of the battery electric vehicle occurs on both continents. It's still very small. Yes, the growth rates are large and people keep talking about it, but at the end of the day, we're still talking about very low penetration rates. And one of the other parts that I think is very important is that we are seeing the transition not directly to a pure battery electric vehicle. We're seeing a pickup in the hybrid vehicle. Well, the hybrid vehicle is still using the internal combustion engine. As a matter of fact, because of the way the engine operates, there's more loading of the catalytic converters in terms of the metals. So it makes us that much more relevant, and I think gives us that much more of a runway for our most advanced project, which is Finland, but we are trying to position ourselves and being very tactically orientated in terms of acquiring additional assets, as we recently did in the Yukon, and for very low cost.
So you got Russia 40%, South Africa 40%. That's not a whole bunch they produced elsewhere. So again, I want to come back. How do you take advantage of it? Because where are you now with that project? And what are the drivers for you? I've got to show scale, or I've got to go and find myself some higher grade. I know it's a kind of polymetallic, but you know what I mean. What are the challenges for you over the next 12 months that you've set internally?
In Finland, we already have scale. We've got about 89 million tons of material in the existing resource, and we've done advanced metallurgical work. So we're really at that point in time where you can start thinking about putting a project together. And we've dealt with two of the critical risk issues. One is scale. The resource only covers 5 of 38 kilometers of contact. So, it's pretty clear to us there's lots of opportunity to make it even bigger. But why invest, that much more money making it even bigger?
Because you're Canadian. That's what you guys do.
It's true. But from a risk perspective, get the metallurgy right. When you've got a resource where you're dealing with 5 metals, getting that right and being able to extract it is really important. That's why we invested so heavily over the last 9 months with regards to the variability testing that we did. We've demonstrated we can produce a very clean, high-value concentrate. And as a matter of fact, we can also produce both a nickel and a copper concentrate of high value, and fairly easily to sell. But the next issue for us really is permitting. So many projects get hung up for years and years on permitting. So we had the view last year that we would be achieving scale. It was pretty clear to us. We had the view that based on the historical metallurgical work that our MET program would come together fairly well, and it has, so we're very pleased with that. But based on that, we started the permitting discussions. So we hired one of the major consulting firms in Scandinavia and does pretty much all the mining permitting work in Finland to give us the roadmap that we're going to require in that jurisdiction. We've laid out a very detailed plan on the steps that are needed to be taken. We've started that assessment process in terms of getting all the baseline data together. That started last September with water. It continues. I think we have people in the field as we speak today. It'll continue over the course of this year. And what we're really trying to do is get into that environmental impact assessment process sooner rather than later in order to de-risk the project and be able to move it forward. So as far as Finland is concerned, scale, MET is there. Focus right now is on the permitting of it to tick that box, and we'll come back to drilling it out and doing some more infill drilling and expanding the project in due course.
So that's really interesting to me. What's interesting to me is not interesting to the market, right? They're not giving you value for that,
correct,
right? So I'm trying to work out which of those things. I know you've got to do all of those things, but none of those things except the permitting really matter to the market. Once you kind of got that permit in place, I suspect the floodgates open a little bit.
Well, I think it depends on how you define the market, right? We have a tremendous amount of institutional shareholder support. The retail market, I don't think, cares as much about permitting, right? And it's not going to really hit the news flow and get the buys going right when the news releases come out. So you need to counterbalance that. And so we have other projects to be able to counterbalance that and keep.
We'll come to that. We'll come to those. But I'm trying to work out, given the market's not giving you the value at the moment, and I get the institutional coverage with you guys, and we can sit and debate whether retail investors understand permitting a lot. Like I struggle to invest without a permit because I've been hurt in the past, right? But other people maybe take that risk on board, and that's fine. But we still got to focus in on the things which unleash the value to this, and whether that or not that is entirely you doing all of those things, or you bringing in someone else, or you whether we're farming in or bringing in a strategic investor or just stepping back and getting carried the rest of the way, you've done a lot of heavy lifting so far. Are you tempted to just say, well, let's use someone else's balance sheet here, or do you think that you can capture all of that value going forward?
Well, it's about capturing that value, right? And at what point in time does somebody decide to jump in and want to become that strategic partner on the project? Because ultimately, this is a large project, and I can envision needing a strategic partner involved. But you don't know when they're going to make the decision, right? It's a risk-based assessment that a counterparty needs to make, and that's why we're focusing in on de-risking the project, hitting the big issues to allow somebody to make a recommendation to their boss, let's say, as to trying to participate in the project. So from our perspective, the next major item to unlock value is really clarity on permitting and time frame.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see how that. We'll stay in touch and let's see how that project kind of rolls forward. In a market where people are kind of just shrugging their shoulders and right, I don't care what you do, I'm still risk off here. So everyone's in that same boat at the moment, right? So let's go to Tyco, the award-winning Tyco. I keep saying that, it's a joke, but that was already in the portfolio.
It was.
You kind of brought it back to life, as it were. You're getting that thing going there. So what's happening at the moment?
Yeah, no, Tyco is a great story. It was actually the asset that took the company public. It was the qualifying asset, and it was basically a second fiddle. We were focused on Finland, and it was a clear path to adding value there. But when COVID hit, the opportunity arose to raise a little bit of money and continue exploration in Ontario while we had to shut down in Finland. We knew about a little hit on a electromagnetic survey from about 40 years ago at the very tail end of a flight line. Nobody had ever followed up on it. It was fairly close to a road, and we said, you know what, we may as well take a look at that thing. We did some soil sampling around the area, got fantastically anomalous values in soils, followed it up with drilling. Spectacular results, very high grade, 10% nickel at surface. And that really gave us the encouragement to spend more money on the project because it was second fiddle. We weren't planning on deploying a lot of capital there. We did a large electromagnetic survey across the entire property looking for additional conductors. We've gone back to those areas, especially those where we had multi-line anomalies, did soil sampling programs. We've done ground-based geophysics and really just try to check all the boxes in a very disciplined approach to really develop advanced exploration targets. It took, unfortunately, 9 months to get 3 of 5 drill permits. We're still waiting on a couple more, but we've got them. So we've got a drill rig on site right now. We're starting to test. So I think as we look forward over the next 6 months or so, it's really the excitement from the drill bit that we're going to be getting on the Tyco project, where, again, we've got nickel and copper, 2 very hot metals, thematically relevant. They're on the critical minerals list. And as a matter of fact, in Canada, which is very helpful, there's a new tax program for critical minerals. And it's not all critical minerals. There's a subset of those that are designated for enhanced tax credits in order to advance those projects. So I think we're in a very sweet spot there, and we see the news flow coming from Tyco that's going to drive the market over the next little while.
It's interesting. We see companies that come in here and drop a few hot commodity names in here. You've got to do that. But you've got really high-grade nickel. You've got really high-grade copper in there. So you've got a job, both of which we need all of the above. Your company and other companies to step up to the plate here. So I think that's kind of good news. So how, in terms of the confidence levels, how much of your current capital are you allocating to that project? Given you've already got the scale in Finland, as you said, you don't need to go and drill too many more holes there. What are we going to see at Tyco from you in terms of ambition?
Well, we started 2022 with $5 million of flow-through funding in hand that has to be spent by the end of the year. So over the course of 2022, we're spending $5 million in Ontario on Tyco for drilling. And we also started the year with about $10 million of non-flow-through funds for general working capital and for Finland. But given the level of expenditure in Finland is much lower because we're not drilling currently, that cash is going to last a long time.
Okay, as a finance guy, it must be frustrating to you, the current market, clearly, because if you need to go and raise, I'm not saying you do, if you do need to go and raise money as a junior, it's super expensive.
Extremely,
right? You're really railing against doing that if you don't need to. You spend your $5 million this year. If the market hasn't recovered, what do you do? I know flow through is good in terms of the economics, and so it's better. But do you do more of that, or you just say, look, we've got to make a call on what's going to happen in the economy, and we hunker down, or is this actually it's better to raise slightly more expensive money now, have it in hand, and actually be able to advance what I think is quite a high-grade project?
I think it's going to be a game-time decision. Right now, it's too early to say, I'm going to go raise money in month X. And we don't know what the drill bit's going to show us. We're really excited in terms of what, maybe we're going to have a third discovery in less than 3 years. Who knows? So we've got some time. We plan on drilling throughout the balance of the year. We've still got another 6 months of the year to go, and we'll see what market conditions are at the time. But obviously, it is always valuable to continue moving a project forward. If you stop anywhere in the process, it's really hard to restart, especially if you don't have any news flow. So, I would anticipate that, if the opportunity affords itself, when we get the results we're hoping for from the drill bit, that we want to add a couple drills and keep it going.
Okay. Let's talk about the new project. You're not resting on your laurels.
No.
So you're serious about this critical minerals thing. This isn't just like, I need to do something to get the headlines going, get people interested.
Yeah, it's not the flavor of the month. No.
Right. Okay. No. Okay. So what have you picked up?
So we picked up the Canalask project, which is in the Yukon, and it's a property that actually Falconbridge had picked up in 2006, just before their sale to Xstrata.
Do you want to explain who they are to people?
Falconbridge, a major Canadian mining company, one of the largest nickel companies in the world at the time. Very credible player. So we're getting a major company project here that, because of circumstances, has been sitting in a junior since 2008. It really hasn't been touched. So we've got a situation where we've got an advanced project that has drill targets ready. It not only has your typical basal contact that you would see, but also footwall opportunities such as Sudbury. So we're looking at a Sudbury nickel camp model for this project in the Yukon, and trying to take a very disciplined approach. Our cash outlay for the acquisition was very minimal. $25,000 of cash, $200,000 in shares, and yes, there's a bunch of deferred consideration if it goes into commercial production, et cetera, et cetera. So we see lots of opportunity on this because we've already got a de-risk situation. We'll be doing some geophysics, and following which we would hope to do some drilling. But first and foremost, we need to go and engage with the local communities and get the social license.
Yeah. Big. That's a really important thing you just said there, right? And doing business in Yukon, it's a big mining province, obviously, but you got to do things the right way for sure.
Oh, you absolutely have to. In the Yukon, much like Ontario, you really have to be proactive with engagement, and if you don't do that, you may as well just go home. So our objective this year is really to focus in on that side of things to be able to do what we want to do next year.
So you're now sitting on 3 quite big projects potentially in terms of land package and the grades. The historic data suggests, and your drilling suggests that these are, meaningful.
Well, the Yukon project has a historic resource from 1968 of 400,000 tons at about 1.6% nickel. Yeah,
it's not too shabby. So I'm not even going to ask you the next question. You're going to tell me it's an in-game decision, but in terms of how you come up with those projects, because they in themselves could be companies in their own right.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, but we're sitting in a time of the market where, as you pointed out earlier, capital is very hard to get, if you can get it at all. So there are opportunities to get assets that could be quite accretive, and if you can do it for next to no consideration, cash consideration, we're preserving our optionality with our cash balance and adding value to the company. And there's always, depending on how things move, the opportunity you could then spin out an asset on a standalone basis if you've got a sufficient amount of discovery success with it. We're building optionality into the company, focused in this green energy space.
So it feels like there's more coming down the line. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, we're definitely looking. There's no question about it. We are looking. It's a bit of a relative valuation game. Everybody's share price has come off in the last 6 months. There's no surprise there. But if ours didn't come off as much as somebody else's, maybe that's something I can now look at, which I wasn't able to look at previously.
Right. So I used to work for a Japanese family office. They said basically, if you, in times like this, if you stay busy and go where others fear to tread, when we come out the other side,
exactly,
you'll be the last man standing. So basically, that's an interesting attitude.
No, I think that's right. These are the times where I think money is made. Yeah. It's not when the hot market, everybody's making money when the hot market and things are going easy. But right now, if you can position yourself, play a little bit of chess, and build your portfolio strategically, I think there's very good opportunities available.
Exciting times. Well, look, appreciate the update.
Thank you very much.
Stay in touch about the acquisition side of things. I think at the moment, as you say, some opportunities there. If you get them over the line, it could be quite nice when we all come out the other side.
Exactly. Thank you.